Here's the truth everyone gets wrong about building wealth. You don't need to live in America to get rich. In fact, you might actually be in a better position than most Americans if you know how to leverage their system. See, most non-US residents think that they're locked out of that system, and it's a general understanding that most Americans typically have financial advantages. That's exactly why America has the most amount of millionaires in the world. It's because they have access to a stronger credit system, a better banking infrastructure, and better payment processing. All the tools that create financial flexibility so that you can build your business with ease. That's why in this video, I'm gonna break down why business owners don't need to live in America to get rich. And as a quick disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes only. Of course, you're just watching a YouTube video here. Everyone's situation will be different. I always advise people to seek qualified professionals for their specific situation, or you can just get in contact with our team. But let's get straight into it. So it is a typical understanding that most Americans have significant advantages. I personally had that belief set that most Americans just have an innate advantage because they live in the biggest financial system in the world. And as I started to get older and older, more and more, let's say, weathered into the business space, I started learning about the banking system. I started learning about the credit system and how generally Americans have that financial flexibility to scale their businesses. And so these are really basic understandings. And we all know that along with being an American also comes with the downsides, such as taxes and being a resident in a place where you have to spend a lot of money on your lifestyle, right? Like just generally to live in America, you're going to be spending a lot of money for gas and whatnot because there's inflation, right? Like typically it's more expensive to live in a first world country, especially in America, right? So the upside is the fact that you have these financial tools to make a lot of money, right? Like you could make $1 million a month with a business in the USA, but it's very rare to see anyone even touch that kind of money in a country outside of America. And I have to tell you, I know so many more people that are making $1 million a month plus in America than anyone else that's living in Europe or Canada or whatnot. So it's really a basic understanding. But here's the real truth about the American financial system that a lot of people don't talk about. You can access the tools that help Americans to make more money and have higher flexibility without actually taking in the downsides. I'll break down how that's possible in a few minutes, but let me just cover how substantial this could be for your own business. So most countries don't actually have a credit system. So by having access to a credit system in the first place, that actually allows you to have more flexibility when it comes to actually scaling your business, right? Just imagine you've got to wait 14 days to get the money from the payment processors. You've got to wait a certain amount of time for your client to actually pay you so that you can then recycle that money back into your business. Instead, if I gave you access to $100,000 right now so you can build your business, you'd probably deploy that capital right away without wasting any time. Speed is key when it comes to making more money. And that's what's not Americans. They don't have access to that unless you understand the ways of actually getting your hands on American financial tools without actually being an American, which is, by the way, absolutely possible. I'll tell you in a sec. And so the interesting thing about you either being a non-US citizen or non-US resident, you don't have to take in the downsides of being in the American financial system, being, as I said, the inflation, the high cost of living, and the taxes, while you can take advantage of those tools that actually make you more money. So a lot of people might ask this question. This sounds just way too good to be true. Why does the US even allow people to access the credit system, all the financial tools? Well, here's really the bare bones to it. If the US is the strong reserve economy of the world, they want to be able to be open for outside investors. And so actually, matter of fact, the US would lose trillions of dollars on a yearly basis if they did not allow foreigners to actually open up bank accounts in America. They would lose trillions of dollars. And actually, the statistic says that on average, the US receives about $5 trillion on a yearly basis of investment into America. So the US wants capital to inflow into America. They want people to take advantage of their financial tools because they make money by lending you money. They make money by giving you access to their banking. The main thing here that the US is looking for is people that follow by the rules, is people that actually have real businesses, right? Because the main thing when it comes to entering this financial system is just making sure that everything is being followed by the books. There's no money laundering happening. There's no bad things happening. And that's all that they want to see. They want to make sure that you're doing something that is positive for America. They want to see that you're not breaking the laws. And in that case, then they'll give you access to their financial tools. So just keep in mind that it's America's incentive to allow people in. It's America's incentive to allow foreigners to actually take advantage of their financial tools, because again, they make more money with it. So let me actually break down how the USA actually made it legally possible for non-US residents, non-US citizens to actually access this financial system. So a matter of fact, the ITIN, the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, was released in 1996 for non-US residents to legally access the US financial system. So every time you want to access a credit card, like some of my clients do, instead of using a SSN, they use a ITIN. If you're an American citizen, you probably have an SSN. Most non-US residents don't have the opportunity to get an SSN, so you'll get that ITIN, right? So it basically treats you the same as if you're in America. That ITIN is connected to the credit bureau so that you can actually start building a credit score in their system. So it's actually beautiful. The second thing that the US did to accept foreigners is the fact that they're allowing anyone to open up US LLCs or any type of corporation, right? So foreigners can open up LLC in all the 50 states, right? You can pretty much use your LLC as a bridge into the US financial system by actually leveraging a US corporation that allows you to sell to people in the US, that allows you to get access to business credit cards, that allows you to get access to business banking, and all the other different details like payment processing and whatnot, merchant accounts. Which allows you to scale your business, right? The other thing is the fact that the US system just wants you in here, right? They make more money by receiving deposits. They make more money by seeing transactions. They make more money by lending you money. So as long as they see that you're following the KYC rules and the AML rules, then they want you in that system. So now that you understand how powerful this could actually be, the fact that you're arbitraging the strongest financial system, accessing their financial tools without paying the high cost of living. You might be living in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, anywhere throughout the world, potentially even in Dubai or whatnot, right? And you're making that arbitrage where you have access to those financial tools that will help you make more money without paying the high cost of living. Let's talk about how you can actually do this. So just on a very high level, which by the way, I've got other videos on the channel actually speaking about the exact in-depth step-by-step system you can take to actually access US credit. Or again, you can join our free community where we talk about this stuff full time. I'll actually link it in the description if anyone wants to join our free community. Again, 100% for free. Let me talk about the steps over here. So the first step is actually get your hands on your corporation, your ITIN, and start opening up business bank accounts. Eventually building up a credit profile, which is pretty much the second step. So pretty much with that ITIN that you then get, you then use it to apply for personal credit cards. You build up your personal credit portfolio, and then that allows you to then get access to business credit cards and actually the highest redemption credit cards. Again, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Amex Platinum that I've got over here, the Amex Platinum, this card over here, as well as the ITIN. Let me show you my ITIN. Because again, like a lot of people don't believe that this is possible. The ITIN, which I've got just over here, right, from the IRS. It's absolutely legal, by the way. Like, it's just crazy how most entrepreneurs don't know about this, right? So that's a legal process. You get your ITIN, you get your EIN, you set up a corporation, you open up relationships with the big banks such as Capital One, Chase, Citi, Bank of America, and then you use that established relationship that you've created with the banks to then get access to business funding, right? And by the way, like, you can do this in any other country. You can do it in the UK, you can do it in Europe, you can do it in Australia. But the fact is that you'll just get more when you're in America. You'll get more and you'll get better. You'll get 0% interest terms. You'll get higher credit limits and less bureaucracy, which is the whole point of doing this, right? So just breaking down this arbitrage, the fact that you are a non-US citizen, non-US resident classifies you as a non-resident alien. Means that as long as your income is not sourced from the US, the actual income that you're making is non-taxable. Again, there's a lot of small details when it comes to 0% taxes because, as I said, you're taking advantage of all the positive things of the American financial system without taking the negative, such as paying high taxes, all that kind of stuff, right? Which is really the goal over here. This is the goal of the company. This is the goal of UpCredit, right? That's pretty much what's possible if you put your head down and actually learn about this. I always had this notion that America will tax you to death, that you do not want to give any information to America and whatnot, but they actually want you in there, right? Like, I had that notion because I used to watch a bunch of different YouTube videos talking about how to achieve 0% taxes, how America is bad and whatnot. And there's just a lot of negative press around the USA, which this is the reason why I want to come here and speak to business owners and tell them, like, don't put yourself at this innate disadvantage. If people have this advantage, this credit advantage, this banking advantage, this payment processing advantage, and the fact that they can then use the credit cards for high redemptions so that they can travel first class and whatnot, use that advantage. That's what's going to allow you to pretty much make your competition irrelevant in your marketplace. So now that you've watched this video, you've seen the math, you've heard the stories, you already know that non-US business owners can access American credit. And just to show you how possible it really is, I've recorded another video breaking down exactly why I secured $376,000 in US credit as a non-US resident. I actually talk about the stories about why I was able to access this system, all of the stories behind everything, all of the different experiences that I had that got me to realize that the US credit system is designed for everyone. The US credit system is meant for not only Americans, but anyone else that makes money, that's a business owner. You can click right here to watch that video. And yeah, let me know if you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.